If you look at the world's most violent drug wars, you won't be surprised to find the likes of Colombia, Peru, and Bolivia at the top of the list. However, one country stands out among the rest: Mexico. Between the years 2007 and 2014 alone, the Mexican drug war was responsible for a staggering 164,345 homicides. To put this into perspective, the entire Iraqi conflict during the same period saw 81,636 homicides, while the Afghanistan conflict only saw 21,415 homicides. Yet, despite the reality of the situation, if you were to show these numbers to the average person walking around, you would be met with confusion and sheer bewilderment. The truth is that the Mexican drug war is one of the most violent and bloodiest drug-related conflicts to date. And while the atrocities taking place have an impact on everyone, regardless of age or race, there is a group of people who are particularly suffering: women. According to a report from Mexico's Interior Department, the annual femicide rate in Mexico was 1.9 per 100,000 in 2007. Just 5 years later, in 2012, the number had more than doubled to 4.4. Undoubtedly, in the heart-wrenching depths of the Mexican drug war, women have fallen victim to unimaginable and unspeakable violence. But for every woman suffering during this bloody conflict, there are just as many directly shaping Mexico's drug war, for better and for worse. And their stories, which are often untold, shed light on the profound impact of the conflict. Which is why today we will delve into the experiences of these courageous women, their struggles, their triumphs, and the lasting effect the drug war has had on them. But most importantly, we will explore the lasting effect they have had on the drug war itself. Victims of violence. Meet Anabel Flores Salazar, a brave Mexican journalist whose story serves as a grim reminder of the brutality of the Mexican drug war. On Tuesday, the 9th of February 2016, just 15 days after giving birth to her daughter, Anabel's lifeless body was discovered bound and abandoned near her home in Mariano Escobedo, Puebla. According to a witness account from her aunt, Sandra Luz Salazar, a group of individuals dressed in military attire broke into Anabel's home in the early hours of the morning under the false pretense of an arrest warrant. The group then abducted Anabel and proceeded to mutilate and sexually assault her before killing her and leaving her in a ditch on the side of the road. Anabel was the third Mexican journalist who had been killed in a drug war-related incident that year, causing many to cry out for justice. Fortunately, two men who went by the names Gonzalo Paulo N. and Manuel N., the alleged leader of Los Zetas, one of the most prominent cartels in the area at that time, were apprehended in connection to the crime. Many speculated as to why Anabel was a target of the cartel, with some arguing that she was directly involved, as she was seen at the same restaurant as Manuel N. However, these rumors were dispelled by her aunt, who claimed it was just a coincidence. Regardless of affiliation, Anabel's story stands as a stark example of the brutality of the cartel way of life. And it is no different for the next story, on Maria Santos Gorostieta Salazar. On the 12th of November 2012, Maria started her day as if it were any other. She prepared her daughter for school and jumped in the car ready to drop her daughter off and start her day as a politician for the Party of the Democratic Revolution. Shortly after, Maria and her daughter found themselves in the crosshairs of violence in the city of Morelia, Mexico. At approximately 8:30 a.m., an unknown vehicle forced them off the road. Unable to help and frightened to the core, citizens watched as the two armed men attacked and abducted Maria against her will, leaving her frightened daughter alone in the car behind her. Maria was under the impression that if she cooperated, she would at least see the safety of her daughter come to fruition. At first, many assumed this was a simple ransom deal, but as the minutes turned into hours and the hours turned into days, there was no sign of Maria. 3 days later, on November 15th, farmers from the small community of San Juan Terrara Mayo in Cutzio found a lifeless body while going about their daily tasks. Post-mortem examinations not only revealed that the body belonged to Maria, but also that she had suffered numerous physical injuries, particularly to the head. The stories of Anabel and Maria, while different in their own right, stem from the same origin. They were both courageous women on the fringe of fighting against the evils of the Mexican drug war. Anabel, a brave journalist who did her best to find the truth, and Maria, a politician who constantly fought for what was right. Both serve as symbols of unwavering courage and sacrifice, reminding us all of the present battle against the darkness that can permeate in our world. But while some chose to fight against the darkness of the drug war, there were some who, through troubled upbringings and sinister influences, decided to work within it instead. And there is no better example than the life of the infamous Womenincartels Espuro. Women in cartels. At just 18 years old, Coronel met and married Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, one of the world's most notorious Mexican cartel leaders. This union thrust her into a life of fame and notoriety as her husband constantly evaded authorities. Coronel's mystique as an enigmatic wife of a dangerous criminal attracted worldwide attention and made her a prominent figure in the media. As she navigated these formative years, Coronel developed a mindset that would eventually propel her to significant success in the realm of social media. Although Coronel gained celebrity status through her association with El Chapo, it wasn't until his trial that she truly seized the opportunity to become a social media influencer. In 2019, more than a decade after their marriage, El Chapo faced charges related to drug trafficking and was sentenced to life in prison. Throughout his trials, Coronel captivated audiences with her designer outfits, jewelry, and glamorous presence. Portrayed as a loyal damsel in distress, she embraced the limelight and became a social media sensation. The combination of glitz, supposed love story, and media attention laid the groundwork for Coronel's foray into the realm of social media and digital fame. Positioned as a fashion icon and a symbol of power for women around the world, Coronel capitalized on her husband's fame and success. She launched her clothing brand, aptly named El Chapo Guzman, and made appearances on various reality television shows in Mexico, including one focused on the lives of mafia families. Coronel achieved significant success during this period, with her fame often compared to that of the Mexican version of Kim Kardashian. However, unbeknownst to Coronel, amidst the adoration and love she was receiving, the skeletons in her closets were about to emerge. In 2021, 3 years after her husband's trials, Coronel's life took a dramatic downturn. She was arrested at Dulles International Airport under the charges of aiding and abetting her husband's prison escape in 2015 and attempting to aid his escape after his trial in 2019. Additionally, Coronel faced prosecution for her involvement with the Sinaloa cartel and was accused of smuggling cocaine, methamphetamine, and heroin into the United States. Initially facing a minimum of 10 years in prison, Coronel benefited from the safety valve provision in the legal system, which led to more lenient terms due to her voluntary surrender and her cooperation in understanding the Sinaloa operation. In November 2021, she was sentenced to 3 years in prison and an additional 4 years of supervised probation. The court's leniency faced criticism, but it was argued that Coronel had been coerced into cartel life at a young age, had a minor role in the organization, and that her children deserved a mother in their lives. Currently, Coronel is serving her sentence at the Federal Medical Center in Carswell and is scheduled for release in September late this year. Despite her recent trials and tribulations, she remains an icon for women worldwide, symbolizing bravery, love, and fashion. Systematic issues and solutions. One of the primary issues facilitating women's roles within the Mexican drug war is the high level of corruption within government institutions and law enforcement agencies. Cartel leaders, through financial manipulation and scare tactics, are able to infiltrate these institutions and influence key members in order to get what they want. This corruption subsequently undermines the rule of law and erodes public trust, which are pivotal in protecting women's rights, especially in a country that is heavily influenced by war and physical aggression. The law acts as an equalizer for men and women, so when that isn't upheld, the very foundation of safety for women begins to crumble, and women are freely targeted for reasons such as their involvement in journalism, activism, or even their loose association with cartel members, as we saw with Annabelle and Marie. Furthermore, the very involvement of women such as Womenincartels Espuro in the drug war is also shaped by these systematic issues. Women in Mexico, like Coronel, are often victims of sexual violence and manipulation from an early age. For example, Coronel was coerced and influenced by one of the most dangerous leaders in the world, from the young age of 18. These women are then pressured into joining the cartel and the drug war life either by choice or due to limited alternatives driven by economic factors such as poverty or lack of opportunity. While it may seem like an easy choice, the difficult circumstances can cause them to become trapped in a cycle of violence and criminality. These systematic issues perpetuating the drug war and women's roles within it require in-depth, comprehensive solutions. Efforts will be need to focus first on combating corruption, so that the sanctity and foundation of the law and female protection can be strengthened. This, in turn, can prompt social and economic development that addresses the root cause of drug-related violence. Additionally, there is a need for gender-specific approaches to support and empower women who find themselves in unfavorable circumstances both before and during their involvement with the drug cartel. This might include providing resources for victims, but could also involve rehabilitation programs as well as opportunities for education and employment. By addressing these systematic issues, Mexico will move towards creating a more just and equitable society where women feel safe within their professional pursuits, their freedom of speech, and, of course, their day-to-day lives. It is crucial, therefore, to ensure that women from all over Mexico are included in the efforts to dismantle the drug war, and that their stories, like the ones you have heard today, are taken into account and examined in detail. Before we draw the curtains, I invite you to join our community. If this video intrigued you, don't forget to hit subscribe and like this video. So come along and let's venture beyond yonder together.